So it's actually a pretty nice day out. So I don't really have a good justification to be in the train room. I should be outside doing things, or at least in the shop, right? But I had some errands to run, so went off this morning and did that. You know, life happens. And I picked up this car at the local train shop. And they had 3 of them. And I just wanted to bring it home and take a look at it and see how it fits in with things. Because it kind of brings up the whole discussion of scale all over again, right? I'm not sure who makes this one. Looking for markings on it. Nobody's bragging about it. So I don't know what brand it is at all. But it does have spring trucks, die cast, and it's kind of scale-o. This is a Lionel, so let me see if that's similar. No, they're different trucks, so it's not Lionel. I'm wondering if it's MTH or Weaver, one of those two. I've noticed that on the Weavers, you'll get a car from them and they don't have any markings on it either. So, not sure of the brand. But I do know if it was Lionel, would advertise Lionel somewhere. You'd see it in the small print or something. But part of what I'm trying to do is build a train that matches my scale-o SD45s, especially the Susquehanna. And that's not proving to be as easy as I would have liked. And it's also in conflict with my, well, 027 flavor. And the difference in scale between scale-o and 027 is rather significant, right? That's 027. And this would be scale-o. I mean, it's a huge difference. And of course, you can't have any discussion about scale with O gauge track without thinking about that semi-scale that Lionel did. Yeah, see, that's a Lionel. Not sure who did this one. That's a Williams. Now, I believe the Williams is an attempt to be O scale, but I'm not sure. They had some of both, you know. And if you look at the manifests that I catch up there on the CSX main line, there's a whole variety of different sizes, so you can make an argument on the box cars especially, you know, whether it's scale or not. The reason why I think this is probably an attempt to be a scale-o is because of the width, where even the semi-scale is not as wide as the scale-o. And of course 027 is quite a bit, you know, more narrow. And these are obviously scale-os. But so what do you do? I mean, what do you build trains and have a stock of rolling stock of 027 and semi-scale, so you have enough to build, you know, a train depending on what your locomotive scale is? Yeah, how do you deal with that? And that's kind of what I've been wrestling with. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So the solution I've kind of come up with is, I mean, you look at the real trains and, you know, to have a 10-car train is basically they're switching or moving from one part of the yard to the other. Very rarely do you see one actually get moved any distance. But on my layout, 10 cars is an adequate train. So where I've kind of come down to is rather than just have sort of this random smattering of cars, I'm going to start trying to focus on building trains, having a rolling stock of cars that matches some of the locomotives. And so in the case of Susquehanna, you know, these grain cars, but also some frameless tank cars. So I have like 10 of them, you know, and it makes a decent train. And then the same on semi-scale. You know, I like the Pennsylvania-based coal mining railroad, so having these semi-scale Lionels, they fit. I've got a few, so I'll probably add a few more. And focus on that and get rid of some of the random stuff. And of course, since I have a focus on 027, you know, these things. But not mix them on the actual trains. It's just wait until I get enough, and then I can start running the trains with the proper cars, with the proper scale, matching the proper locomotive. Kind of where I've come up with. So, and I sure have plenty of 027, so I can run them all day long and don't need to buy a whole lot more rolling stock, you know what I'm saying? But I am lacking in the true O scale, and I think I'm lacking in the semi-scale. Which brings up another issue is, I mean, if you look at history, you look at the different sizes of the locomotives. Like that first GE, that was their first offering for the U.S. market. You know, the U25B, B being, you know, the trucks, two-axle trucks. They're physically smaller than the SD45. So the question is this semi-scale or is it true O scale? I'm going to say that it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've got pictures of both. I can match them up, but I'm going to say it's more like semi-scale than it is O-scale. So it's okay to use. It's one of the reasons I like those weavers, is you can put them ahead of a bunch of semi-scale Lionel cars, and they don't look bad. But if I put those cars behind that SD45, they look like toys. It doesn't work scale-wise. But ongoing discussion. Of course, if I put a, you know, one of those ALCO FAs, you got to have 027 cars for those to pull, because they're so much smaller than, you know, an old scale version of the same thing. Let me see if I can find a couple to put up there. There's your 027, and there's your scale O, so there's quite a difference. Plus the Williams model is quite a bit more detailed. That's a very nice locomotive right there, you know. But these match up really good with this stuff right here. This is that Chinese company that I've discovered. They make nice 027 stuff. Die-cast trucks, springs. They roll good. They got the tapered tires as Lionels do. And the price on those things is pretty good. Of course, I don't know what's going to happen with tariffs, but to this point in time, there's a lot of that stuff laying around, so you can pick it up for pretty cheap because nobody sees any collector value in it. But I'm about running my trains around in circles. I'm not about collecting and putting things on a shelf if I don't have to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am. But I like to run them. I'll wear them out. But this is my struggle. So, like I said, where I've kind of come down to is having enough rolling stock to match a train to the actual scale of the locomotive. And then also, when I've got the three tracks going, that means I have to have at least 3 trains. So we're looking at maybe 25 cars of a given scale, of which I've got plenty of 027. I've got almost enough semi-scale, but I don't have nearly enough O. That's where we kind of end up. Well, I know that's semi-scale, and it certainly does work with those cars. That's easy, right?